When my own brother handed me eviction papers from my childhood home with a cold smile, I collapsed against the doorframe as my world shattered. Days later, I was digging through my father's old files in a desperate race against time, only to discover a secret that would leave my teenage daughter speechless. That's when I realized family isn't always blood. Sometimes it's just a pretty mask covering the face of betrayal. If you're watching this, hit subscribe and tell me what state you're from. Because trust me, this story twists more than a hurricane-force wind, and you'll want to be here when the truth finally explodes. My name is Clara Mendez, and until 3 months ago, I thought I knew what betrayal felt like. I'd been through a bitter divorce, watched friendships dissolve, even had my credit card stolen once. But nothing, absolutely nothing, prepared me for the day my brother Raphael decided to steal my inheritance and throw me and my daughter onto the street. I remember that Tuesday morning perfectly. The spring sunshine streamed through the kitchen windows of the home where I'd grown up, where my 17-year-old daughter Isabella now did her homework at the same table I had. The house wasn't fancy, just a sturdy 2-story colonial my parents had poured their lives into, with the faded wallpaper in the hallway and the creaky 3rd step on the staircase. But it was ours. Or so I thought. The doorbell rang as I was washing breakfast dishes. When I opened it, Raphael stood there in one of his expensive suits, looking more like a stranger than the brother who'd once built blanket forts with me in the living room. "Clara," he said, his voice businessman formal. "We need to talk." I invited him in, wiping my damp hands on my jeans. Raphael had always been the successful one, regional manager at an investment firm, perfect house in the suburbs, gleaming German car. Meanwhile, I was a widow working 2 jobs as an administrative assistant and weekend bookkeeper to keep Isabella in her school activities after my husband died unexpectedly 5 years ago. "Coffee," I offered. "No time," he said, placing a manila envelope on the kitchen counter. "I'm just here to deliver this. Dad's estate has been settled." My father had passed away 8 months earlier. Mom had been gone for nearly a decade. The grief was still raw, but at least I had the comfort of our family home, the one thing Dad had always promised would be shared between Raphael and me. "What is this?" I asked, reaching for the envelope. Raphael checked his Rolex. "Legal papers. You have 30 days to vacate the premises. Script part separator, I stared at him, certain I'd misheard. "What are you talking about, Raphael? This is my home. Our home." He glanced around the kitchen with a look I'd never seen before, something between disdain and impatience. "Not according to Dad's will. The house is mine now, Clara. All of it." My fingers trembled as I tore open the envelope. Inside was a formal letter from Harrison and Reed law offices, explaining in cold legal terms that the family home at 1422 Maple Street had been bequeathed solely to Raphael Mendez. I was being evicted from my own childhood home. "This can't be right," I whispered. "Dad always said we'd share the inheritance." Raphael straightened his tie. "Well, he changed his mind before he died. The will is very clear." "When? How?" "I was with him every day during his illness. He never mentioned changing anything. He signed the paperwork 3 months before he passed. I guess he didn't want to upset you." Raphael's face remained emotionless. "I'm giving you 30 days as a courtesy. The law only requires 15. I felt my knees weaken as I gripped the counter. "You can't be serious. Where am I supposed to go? Where is Isabella supposed to go? Her school, her friends, everything is here." "That's not really my problem, Clara. Maybe if you'd made better financial decisions over the years, you wouldn't be so dependent on Dad's charity." His words stabbed like ice picks. "Charity. I took care of him every day while you were too busy with your meetings to visit more than once a month. And I built the business that paid his medical bills," Raphael snapped. "Look, I've already been more than generous. The house is worth $420,000 in today's market. I could sell it tomorrow. This is our family home." My voice rose despite my efforts to stay calm. "Where will we go? I hear there are some nice apartments near the community college." He checked his watch again. "I have a meeting. My attorney can answer any questions." As he turned to leave, something inside me broke. "Raphael, please. We're family." He paused at the door. "Business is business, Clara. Always has been. Script part separator, The door closed behind him, and I sank to the kitchen floor, the legal papers scattered around me like autumn leaves. The room spun as panic set in. 30 days. Just 30 days to process that my brother, my only living blood relative besides my daughter, had betrayed me so completely. I don't know how long I sat there before Isabella came home from school. She found me still on the floor, eyes swollen from crying. Mom, what happened? She dropped her backpack and knelt beside me, her dark eyes, so like my father's, widening with concern. I couldn't shield her from this. At 17, she was old enough to understand our reality, even if I wanted to protect her from it. Your Uncle Raphael is taking the house, I said, my voice hollow. He says Grandpa left it only to him. What? That's impossible. Isabella grabbed the papers, her expression changing from confusion to fury as she scanned them. Grandpa would never do that. He loved us. He promised we'd always have a home here. I know, honey. I squeezed her hand. Something isn't right. That night, after Isabella finally fell asleep, I sat at the kitchen table with a pot of coffee and the family photo albums. There was Raphael and me on our first day of school. There we were at the lake house, Dad teaching us to fish. Christmas mornings, birthday parties, graduations, all those memories contained within these walls. How had we gone from that to this? I pulled out my phone and called the one person who might understand, my cousin Carolina, who worked as a public defender in the next county. It was late, but she answered on the third ring. Clara, everything okay? No, I said, my voice breaking. Everything is falling apart. After I explained, there was a long silence before Carolina spoke. Clara, I hate to say this, but something sounds very wrong here. Your father was meticulous about his affairs, and he adored you. Did you ever see this will? No. Raphael handled everything after the funeral. He said it would be easier that way since I was grieving. And you trusted him. It wasn't a question. He's my brother, I whispered, though the words now tasted bitter. Listen to me, Carolina said, her lawyer voice taking over. Don't sign anything. Don't agree to anything. And whatever you do, don't leave that house until we figure this out. Script part separator, Fast thing tomorrow, I'm coming over. We're going to find out what really happened, Carolina promised. After hanging up, I couldn't sleep. Instead, I went to Dad's old office, the small room off the living room that I'd barely touched since his death. It still smelled like his aftershave and the leather of his chair. I ran my fingers over his desk, remembering him sitting there doing crossword puzzles on Sunday mornings. What happened, Dad? I whispered to the empty room. Did you really cut me out? I started opening drawers, not sure what I was looking for. Most contained the mundane artifacts of his life, pens, paperclips, old birthday cards. In the bottom drawer, I found his old leather date book. Dad was old school. He never trusted computers, preferring to write everything down. I flipped through the pages, moving backward from his death date. 3 months before he died, when Raphael claimed he'd changed his will, Dad had been in the hospital with pneumonia. I remembered those weeks vividly. I'd barely left his side. On the date Raphael mentioned, there was a single notation, R, bringing papers. My heart hassid. I kept searching, finding Dad's medical records. He'd been on heavy painkillers during that hospital stay, the kind that made him confused sometimes. I called Carolina back immediately. He wasn't even lucid that day, I told her, my voice shaking with anger and realization. Raphael brought him papers to sign when he was drugged and barely conscious. That's elder abuse, Carolina said sharply. And potentially fraud. Can we prove it? Maybe. Does your father's doctor still practice? Doutor Menendez? Yes, she's still at County General. Good. We need her testimony about your father's mental state. And we need to find any witnesses to the signing. The next morning, Isabella found me still at the desk, surrounded by papers. Mom, did you sleep at all? She looked worried. I brushed hair from my face. No, but I found something. Uncle Raphael may have tricked Grandpa into signing that will when he was too sick to understand what he was doing. Isabella's expression hardened. I always thought Uncle Raphael was just distant. I never thought he was evil. People can surprise you, I said, thinking of the brother I thought I knew. But we're not giving up this house without a fight. 3 hours later, Carolina arrived with determination in her eyes. We have 17 days before the eviction date. Let's find what we need to stop this. Script part separator equals. We spent the next week building our case. Dr. Menendez confirmed my father had been heavily medicated and often disoriented during the time Raphael claimed he'd signed the new will. The nurse who'd been on duty remembered Raphael's visit, how he'd shooed her from the room, how my father had barely been able to hold the pen. This gives us grounds to contest, Carolina explained as we sat in my kitchen. But we need more. Raphael's no fool. He'll have made sure the paperwork looks legitimate. I hardly slept, spending nights going through every document in my father's office. Meanwhile, Isabella threw herself into research, skipping soccer practice to help us. On the 9th day, with the eviction clock ticking, Isabella found something. Mom, look at this. She burst into the kitchen waving a dusty ledger she discovered behind the bookcase in Dad's office. Grandpa kept a second set of records. The ledger contained meticulous notes about business dealings between my father and Raphael, loans my father had made to help Raphael start his investment career. Loans that had never been repaid. Nearly $300,000, Carolina whispered, stunned. With interest. That's more than the value of this house. But the real bombshell came when we visited Martha, Dad's former secretary. She'd kept copies of all correspondence, including emails between Raphael and a shady lawyer named Garrett, plotting to have my father sign over not just the house but his entire estate while not in his right mind. I kept these because something felt wrong, Martha said, handing over the printed emails. Your father was a good man, Clara. He wouldn't have wanted this. Armed with this evidence, Carolina filed an emergency injunction to stop the eviction. But Raphael wasn't going down without a fight. The day before our court date, I came home to find the locks changed. A note on the door simply read, "Time's up. Script part separator equals. My hands shook with rage as I called Carolina. He can't do this. I shouted into the phone. We have a hearing tomorrow. It's illegal, she confirmed, her voice tight with anger. I'm calling the sheriff right now. Isabella stood beside me, her face pale. Where are we going to sleep tonight? 3 hours later, a sheriff's deputy supervised as a locksmith reopened our door. The deputy handed Raphael's locksmith a citation. Mrs. Mendez has legal residence until court proceedings determine otherwise, he explained firmly. That night, Isabella and I pushed the couch against the door, too paranoid to sleep normally. I kept imagining Raphael returning, finding another way to force us out. Mom, Isabella whispered in the darkness. I'm scared. I know, sweetheart, I squeezed her hand. But we're fighting back now. Morning arrived with another surprise, a courier delivering an envelope. Inside was a threatening letter from Raphael's attorney, claiming I'd embezzled from our father's accounts during his illness. This is insane, I told Carolina as she reviewed the document. I never touched Dad's money except for his medical bills, and I kept every receipt. It's a scare tactic, she said. They're worried about what we found. The courthouse loomed before us, all marble columns and intimidating steps. Inside, Raphael sat with 2 attorneys in expensive suits. He didn't even look at me. Judge Marion Holbrook, a stern woman with silver-rimmed glasses, reviewed our emergency filing. I understand the defendant has attempted to evict the plaintiff despite pending litigation? She asked, peering over those glasses at Raphael's team. My client is exercising his legal rights to his property, his attorney responded smoothly. By changing locks before court review. Interesting interpretation of legal procedure, the judge replied dryly. I'm granting a temporary stay of eviction until this matter is resolved. Raphael's face darkened with fury as the judge continued. And Mr. Mendez, any further attempts to remove your sister from the premises before this court's final ruling will result in contempt charges. Do I make myself clear? Perfectly, Raphael answered through clenched teeth. Script part separator equals. The temporary victory gave us breathing room, but Raphael's counterattack came fast. The next morning, a process server delivered papers naming me in a lawsuit for elder financial abuse, claiming I'd manipulated our father while caring for him. This is a whole new level of evil, Carolina muttered, reviewing the documents. He's trying to distract from his own crimes by accusing you of the exact same thing. I felt physically ill. How can he do this? I barely had enough to keep our lights on while caring for Dad. Because he's desperate, Carolina said. These accusations won't stand up to scrutiny, but they'll drain your resources and emotional energy. She wasn't wrong. The next 2 weeks became a nightmare of depositions and document gathering. Raphael's legal team requested every financial record from the past 5 years, bank statements, credit card bills, even Isabella's school payment records. One night, he found Isabella crying her room. I saw the posts, she whispered, showing me her phone. Raphael's wife had shared veiled social media comments about family members who take advantage of the elderly. Our distant relatives were commenting, taking sides without knowing the truth. They're making it sound like you stole from Grandpa, she said, wiping tears. My friend's parents are asking questions. I held her close. People who matter know the truth. But the damage to our reputation was spreading. At the grocery store, I noticed neighbors whispering. My boss called me in, concerned about the legal issues he'd heard about. The pressure was building when Martha called with another discovery. Clara, I found something in my old filing cabinet. It's a letter your father wrote, dated just days before he got sick. My hands trembled as he read Dad's words. The letter, addressed to his attorney but never sent, clearly stated his intention to divide his estate equally between Raphael and me, with the house specifically left for me and Isabella. This proves Dad never intended to change his will, I told Carolina. It helps, she cautioned, but we need more to prove Raphael actively manipulated him. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Raphael's assistant, Tina, called me secretly. I can't be part of this anymore, she said, her voice trembling. I have copies of emails where Mr. Mendez specifically discussed getting your father to sign papers while he was too out of it to argue. There's also evidence he's been hiding money in offshore accounts, including funds from your father's business. Why are you telling me this? I asked. Her answer chilled me. Because yesterday he asked me to doctor some financial records for the court. I won't commit fraud for him. Script part separator ===. Tina agreed to testify, bringing folders of damning evidence to Carolina's office. What she revealed went beyond what I'd imagined. Raphael hadn't just manipulated our father into signing over the house. He'd been systematically draining Dad's accounts for years, using power of attorney to funnel money into his own investments. When I showed up at the next court date, Raphael looked shaken to see Tina sitting with our team. His attorney requested a private conference, which lasted nearly an hour. When they returned, Judge Holbrook's expression was thunderous. In light of new evidence, this court is referring this matter to the district attorney's office for potential criminal charges, she announced. Mr. Mendez, the court orders all assets related to your father's estate frozen pending investigation. Raphael's face went ashen. Your Honor, these are business matters that appear to constitute elder abuse and fraud, Judge Holbrook interrupted. This court takes such matters extremely seriously. Outside the courtroom, Raphael grabbed my arm. You have no idea what you've done, he hissed. I can make your life hell. Carolina stepped between us. That sounds like witness intimidation, Mr. Mendez. Would you like to add that charge to your growing list? He stormed off, but the victory felt hollow. That night, as Isabella and I ate takeout pizza at our kitchen table, the reality set in. We might keep our home, but our family was destroyed forever. Do you think Uncle Raphael will go to jail? Isabella asked quietly. I pushed my plate away, appetite gone. I don't know, honey. What he did was criminal, but it's more complicated than that. He tried to make everyone think you were the criminal, she said, eyes flashing with anger. How could he do that to his own sister? Script part separator ===. The answer is simple, but it took me too long to see it, I replied softly. Your Uncle Raphael stopped seeing us as family a long time ago. We became obstacles to what he wanted. The investigation into Raphael's dealings expanded rapidly. The DA's office discovered he hadn't just stolen from our father. He'd been running a Ponzi scheme through his investment firm, using new clients' money to pay returns to earlier investors while skimming millions for himself. 2 weeks later, I was folding laundry when the doorbell rang. I opened it to find a woman I'd never seen before standing there with 2 children, a boy around 10 and a girl maybe 8. "Are you Clara Mendez?" the woman asked, her voice strained. "Yes. Can I help you?" "My name is Vanessa." She hesitated, then straightened her shoulders. "I believe I'm married to your brother Raphael." I nearly dropped the laundry basket. Raphael had been married to Stephanie for 15 years. "That's impossible. I know his wife." Vanessa gave a bitter smile. "He told me he was divorced. We've been married for 6 years. These are his children." My mind reeled as I invited them in. Over coffee, while the children watched TV with a curious Isabella, Vanessa explained that Raphael had met her while on a business trip to Phoenix. He'd claimed to be divorced, splitting his time between Arizona and Connecticut for work. "He told me he was building us a future," she said, twisting her wedding ring. "Now the FBI is investigating him, our accounts are frozen, and I discover I'm not even his legal wife." I stared at her, seeing my own shock and betrayal mirrored in her eyes. It wasn't just me he'd deceived, it was everyone. "Have you spoken to Stephanie?" I asked. Vanessa nodded. "Yesterday. She's as blindsided as I am. She thought his trips were all business." The enormity of Raphael's deception was still sinking in when my phone rang. It was Carolina. "Turn on the news," she said urgently. Script part separator, Channel 8's evening news showed Raphael being led from his office in handcuffs. The reporter's voice was clinical. Investment manager Raphael Mendez was arrested today on multiple charges including securities fraud, elder abuse, and bigamy. Sources say Mendez may have defrauded investors of over $12 million. I sank onto the couch, Vanessa beside me, both of us watching in stunned silence as the man we thought we knew was exposed as a criminal on live television. "That's my daddy," the little boy whispered, pointing at the screen. My heart broke for these children, innocent victims caught in Raphael's web of lies. I looked at Isabella, who stood frozen in the doorway, her face unreadable. The next day brought another revelation when Raphael's primary attorney withdrew from the case, citing ethical concerns about information previously withheld by the client. The criminal investigation was expanding to include money laundering. The press discovered our family connection, and suddenly reporters were camped outside our home. "Sister of arrested investment manager claims he tried to steal her inheritance," read one headline. "Another, Mendes family torna parte by gredem de deception." Isabella came home from school in tears. "Everyone's talking about it," she sobbed. Someone asked if we were going to visit Uncle Raphael in prison. I held her close. "We'll get through this," I promised, though I had no idea how. A formal letter arrived from the district attorney's office, requesting my testimony before a grand jury. The family home Raphael had tried to steal was now just one small piece of a massive criminal case. Script part separator, The grand jury testimony was one of the hardest days of my life. For 6 hours, I answered questions about Dad's final months, Raphael's behavior, and the documents we discovered. I brought every record, every email, every piece of evidence Carolina and I had gathered. When I finished, the lead prosecutor pulled me aside. "Mrs. Mendez, I want to thank you for your courage. Your brother's scheme was more extensive than anyone realized." "What happens now?" I asked. "The grand jury will likely indict him on multiple felony counts. With the evidence we have, he's facing significant prison time." I nodded, feeling hollow rather than victorious. "What about the house? Our home?" "The court will almost certainly invalidate the fraudulent will. Based on your father's previous will and his written intentions, the house should revert to you." Outside the courthouse, reporters shouted questions. I kept my head down, hurrying to Carolina's waiting car. "You did great," she assured me as we pulled away. "I don't feel great. I feel like I just buried my brother." "Rafael buried himself, Clara. You just exposed the grave." That night, a knock on our door revealed Stephanie, Raphael's legal wife, standing there looking broken. "I had to see you," she said. "I need to understand, was any of it real? Did you ever see anything good in him?" We sat in the kitchen, Two women trying to reconcile the man we thought we knew with the criminal now sitting in jail. Isabella joined us, asking the questions a teenage girl shouldn't have to ask about her uncle. 3 days later, Raphael requested to see me. Against everyone's advice, I went to the detention center. He sat across from me in an orange jumpsuit, unshaven, his confident facade crumbled. "Why did you call me?" he asked. "I need to know why, Raphael. Why did you do this to Dad?" "To me. To your own children. Script part separator, He stared at his hands for a long moment. "It wasn't supposed to go this far," he finally said. "I just needed to cover some losses. Then more losses. Then it spiraled." "That doesn't explain trying to steal our home," I countered. His eyes met mine, and I saw something I'd never expected: fear. The house was collateral for a loan I couldn't repay. If I didn't deliver it, there were people who would have hurt me. Hurt my family. "So you sacrificed my family instead." He looked away. "I convinced myself you'd land on your feet. That you were stronger than me." How twisted his logic was, that my strength somehow justified his betrayal. "Dad trusted you," he said, my voice breaking. "He trusted you." "I know." Raphael's shoulders slumped. "I've lost every final. Both my families, my freedom, my reputation. I'll probably die in prison." I felt no satisfaction seeing him broken. Just profound sadness for what could have been. "Is there anything else you should know?" I asked. "Any more surprises waiting to destroy what is left of our lives?" "No." He looked up. "But Clara, I am sorry. Not that it matters now." I stood to leave. "You're right. It doesn't matter. But our father raised us better than this." As I turned to go, he called after me. "The combination to Dad's safe in the basement. Did you ever find it?" "What safe?" I asked. "Behind the water heater. The combination is Mom's birthday. There's something in there you should see. Script part separator, My heart hammered as I rushed home. In all these months, I'd never known about any safe. Isabella helped me move boxes in the basement until we found it, a small wall safe cleverly hidden behind the water heater, just as Raphael had said. With trembling fingers, I entered my mother's birthday. The lock clicked, and the door swung open. Inside was a single manila envelope and a small wooden box. I opened the envelope first, finding photographs I'd never seen before. Raphael and Dad arguing in Dad's office, Raphael with a man I didn't recognize passing what looked like cash, and documents with offshore bank account numbers. Dad had been investigating Raphael. He'd known something was wrong. "Mom, look at this," Isabella said, opening the wooden box. Inside was a letter addressed to me in my father's shaky handwriting, dated just days before his death. "My dearest Clara," it began. "If you're reading this, something has happened to me before I could make things right. I've discovered Raphael has been stealing from the company for years. I have proof in a safety deposit box at First National, key enclosed. I plan to confront him, but if something happens to me, you must protect yourself. The house is yours. The real will is with Martha. I'm so sorry I trusted him. I love you always, Dad." Tears streamed down my face as I held the safety deposit box key. Dad had known. He'd tried to protect me. He was going to expose Uncle Raphael, Isabella whispered. "Do you think?" The implication hung in the air, too terrible to voice. Had Raphael's betrayal gone even deeper than we imagined? I took the evidence to the district attorney immediately. The investigation shifted dramatically as they began looking into my father's sudden decline and death. Toxicology reports were ordered on samples still preserved from the hospital. The results were devastating. Traces of arsenic found in his system, small amounts administered over time. Raphael now faced potential murder charges. When confronted, he broke down completely, admitting he'd tampered with Dad's heart medication but denying he meant to kill him, only to keep him confused and manageable while he took control of everything. The trial became a media sensation. Investment manager accused of killing father for inheritance dominated headlines for weeks. Through it all, Isabella and I tried to rebuild some semblance of normal life, knowing nothing would ever be the same. The day the verdict came in, the courtroom was packed. Raphael, once proud and powerful, looked hollow as the judge sentenced him to 30 years without parole. Afterward, reporters thrust microphones in my face. "How does it feel to see justice served?" One shouted. "There's no justice that brings back my father," I answered honestly. "There's no sentence that repairs what's been broken." Today, 1 year later, the house is legally mine. Isabella is applying to colleges, determined to study criminal justice. Sometimes at night, I sit in Dad's office and talk to him, telling him we're okay, we survived. The irony is that Raphael's betrayal taught me something invaluable. True inheritance isn't property or money. It's the strength to face terrible truths and still move forward with integrity. Yesterday, I received a letter from Raphael in prison. I haven't opened it yet. Maybe someday you will. For now, I'm focused on building something Raphael never understood. A legacy of honesty and love that can't be stolen, no matter how clever the thief.